The primary nutrient deficiency that we observe year in, year out in the Mississippi Delta and as well as the hill areas of soybean production is potassium deficiency. So soybean probably removes more potassium in the grain than any other crop we grow in Mississippi, removing approximately 1.3 pounds of K2O per bushel of harvested yield. In general, if you observe potassium deficiency in the field, it's going to be a chlorosis around the outer edge of the soybean tissue, generally occurring lower in the canopy because potassium is mobile in the plant. And with that mobility in the plant can scavenge potassium out of the lower leaves to keep those new leaves healthy. Generally, this is going to occur on our sandier textured soils and our lighter textured soils before it occurs on the heavy clays. So the best remedy to avoid having a potassium deficiency is to soil sample your fields frequently. Generally, we recommend to soil sample in front of the same crop in rotation, and right now we feel sufficient on a 3-year sample cycle. So if you're growing soybeans in 2014, if you take that sample after the soybean crop, in 2016, take that sample after the soybean crop, okay? So you want to stay in the same rotation cycle. You don't want to take that after a corn crop in between the soybean crops. That's our general rule right now. It has worked out very well for us. The one thing that is important is if you're taking your samples in the fall, remain taking your samples in the fall. If you're taking your samples in the winter, remain taking samples in the winter. Soil test variability can fluctuate depending on the time of the year that you take your sample. Having a soil sampler with a physical impediment to allow you to go to the same depth every time is crucial. Mississippi State University's soil testing lab, our recommendations are calibrated on a 6-inch soil sample. So in general in Mississippi, we recommend that at least a 6-inch sample be taken for the best accurate results. If you would like to have your soil tested, please get in contact with one of our soil faculty at Mississippi State University or your county agent, and they can provide you soil sampling boxes. There is a fee associated with soil sampling in Mississippi when you submit those samples to Mississippi State University, as well as the various private labs that are available within the state. So if your consultants are set up with a private lab, by all means, do not soil sample just because they may not come to Mississippi State University. So the information you will get back on a soil test report, depending on where you submit that sample to for testing, will generally consist of an index level that's associated with the potentially available nutrients in the soil at the time that sample was taken. One must remember that a soil sample is a snapshot in time and it can vary throughout the year. So those units will either come back in a soil test index, which would be expressed in pounds per acre or parts per million. They will also have an associated level with them, which very many of you are familiar with, such as the low, medium, high, very high, or optimum. Depending on where you fall within that range will depend on the amount of nutrient you need to apply to maintain your current fertility level and maintain current yields. Some of the common mistakes that I see producers making is all keyed on sampling depth. Sampling depth is probably the most critical because one must remember that the sample is the most important thing. If you take a poor soil sample, you get a poor result, okay? Nutrients stratify in the soil because of the way we apply them, so taking a very accurate depth across a landscape profile is paramount. The second thing is if you are taking that sample, be cognizant of what you're taking that sample with. We have a lot of zinc deficiency in Mississippi, especially in our grass crops, and if you're using soil sampling equipment that is galvanized in nature, you will get erroneous soil sample results. So we prefer you to have soil sampling equipment that is stainless steel and mix it in a plastic bucket before you send those samples in for analysis.